present to you International Freethinkers. You're listening to the We Are Sober podcast.
I legitimately do not know how buttons work. I'm sorry. I not only preemptively started this shit before I hit the live button, then I stopped it, hit the live button, ran it properly, then I fucking hit the thing again. That's what happens when you're off a week. You are muted, bro.
Oh, not anymore. If we start before Facebook cancels our live stream, I think we're doing good for that week.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, folks. Thanks for joining us. Kelly, you're here with us. Nice to see you. How you been?
Great. Thanks for having me. Always honored to be here. Always honored and pleasure. So thanks. Thanks for having me.
Of course. It's nice. It's nice to have folks. It's nice to have folks here. Yeah. There's Christine. Old Twitch favorite. Hi, Christine.
Holding down the Twitch.
Holding down the Twitch. She only one. I think. Legitimately, she's the only one. I see Matthew. Hi. Oz and Ɩnternational. I see you. Hi, Kat. Cool. We got some views. We got some going. It's good for, just being on that break. Ian Leach, you're new. Hi. Nice to see you. Oh, hey, Randy. What's up? I think, we pretty much left this an open chat. I know I kind of, you messaged me earlier, Justin, but I responded in the sense that maybe we can just discuss upcoming things, I guess, either for this channel, and I guess we individually have, good stuff cooking too. So that's fun.
I don't know if I have good stuff cooking, but I've got stuff cooking. So
that's always better. Food is better than anything else. But let's start with that one, Justin. What's I don't know if I'm willing to share the link. I mean, that's fine, but
no, there was a lot of technical problems. I blame it on Oz and his voodoo magic. No, I had a conversation with Isaiah / Diesel / Respect Empathy podcast host.
RHE podcast or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I listened to a couple of his previous conversations, and then I listened to the one with Eric, and they seem to go okay, but there was something from the very beginning. So he's been running into some issues with his positions on LGBTQ plus community and his attitude that I'm willing to help trans people, but I cannot recognize that trans women are women, and that it's not. And then he said it's not possible to transition, right? But he's willing to help them. I don't know, and it's really confusing, and he's confused about it, I think, and putting kind of some of that aside, because we know there's tons of bigoted people and there's tons of people that have these views. It's not like it's an uncommon thing, and we try to address it and educate people and talk to people whenever we can and whenever we are presented with these ideas. So it's not like this is not like a outside case of somebody's attitude, but one of the things that I mentioned them early on in the show, and we could have just stopped there, and the conversation is, if you're not educated on something, or you don't know enough about something, or you don't understand something, but you want to build bridges and maintain build a community and actually help people, then don't talk about it. Just listen and learn, and be open to be educated and take on board what people are saying and believe them if this is what they're saying, especially when it comes to their identity and who they are and how they feel about things. And don't make it about you and try to insert your opinion, because you're just going to cause a lot of problems. It's perfectly acceptable to just not talk about, you don't have to have an input or an opinion or a position on everything. It's okay to just say, I don't know enough about this. I'm willing to learn, and kind of leave it at that.
And it's fine to have a conversation privately. He's doing this shit on his channel publicly and still sounding ignorant and wrong. So there's a clear difference. Like, fine, you can have the conversation between someone whomever privately, but if you're not willing to put yourself in a position that you're wrong, to also listen to actual trans individuals, their experiences, what they go through, the actual science behind it. Kudos to student Dr. Ben, because he puts out all that shit beautifully and from actual knowledge on his channel. So check that shit out, first of all.
Yeah. There's tons of people out there that have explained it in every which way, every different way possible, and you can either listen to them and read what they wrote and hear what they have to say and watch their videos and accept it. Or you can just keep driving in this idea that your ideology, your religious book, or your culture, or whatever it may be, overrides all of that shit, and you just want to have your opinion, but you can't have that and say that you care about people and respect people and want what's best for them and want to help them, because you're obviously not respecting them.
Exactly.
When you are trying to tell them who they are and what they can and cannot do, and what's possible and all this other stuff. It just doesn't work that way.
Exactly. Kelly, you have a fan.
Hi.
That's Captain River.
Captain.
Oh, is it? Hi, River.
Oh shit. Hi. No, you're. Oh, go ahead, Kelly, please.
I was just going to say I agree completely, and if with all the information that's out there, it just seems silly to me to go out into a public forum and spout nonsense, and I'm going to just say nonsense like that, and not expect any kickback from it, especially when, like I say, the information is there for you to read, to see, to study, and you're still going to take up a stance like that. It just seems silly to me. I don't know why you would put yourself in that situation even.
Right. And
even if you did, I'm sorry, even if you did have a different opinion, I don't know why you would put yourself out in the public like that, unless you were purposely trying to start something.
And I want to make another point. And sorry to cut you off, but one of the built-in defense with this was, that's my religious belief. That's my that's from scripture. That's from the church. That's from whatever. And there's tons of religious people that are not bigoted, specifically in that way, and just more broadly, they make it a solid effort to not be bigoted, and they try to be good people, and they're just as Christian as you are or anybody else is, right? It doesn't make you a not Christian to hold this view, this belief that's not even in the Bible. So I don't know. And I would love to see that debate between a knowledgeable progressive Christian that it doesn't hold, this particular view, and have that conversation, rather than this constant, I don't want to hurt anybody, this is just my view because of my religion or my culture, and I'm doing the best I can, because that's not true.
Right. Thank you, Titan. You got me. No, you're right. And I was actually just going to say and preface the fact that if it's not already clear, this guy is a Christian. And I do not recommend. That's why I'm just not going to bother trying to find the link. That's why I wanted to ask you first, because this was your interview. But if you don't care, I'm not going to bother trying to
No,
post the link to
I don't want to
his
get
shit.
bogged down into this. And it was a
Okay, good.
technical mess, so there's like multiple videos and a lot of it was distractions and other problems. But I don't want to get bogged down in it. I just wanted to bring it up as a kind of like a thing that we've done over the last couple weeks and a conversation that I had.
But I think I will credit you in wanting to strive to have effective conversation and not be biased to whom you speak to. I credit that, but also say that I did warn you.
Oh, I know.
There's
I don't think that there is virtue or merit in being willing to speak to anybody and everybody. I don't think that's like inherently good, like a good thing, right? Because there's only so much time, there's only so much space, there's only so much that any given person or audience can consume, and the more of that time and space and resources are given to people that are actively, advocating harmful ideas, the less there is room for other people, especially when those ideas crowd out other voices. It wouldn't be a big deal if there was an equal platform for everybody. But when those harmful ideas are both the dominant culture, the dominant religion, and the dominant type of people that are already in the media, we're just adding to the problem, I think.
Right. Oh, thank you, Ben. Thank you. Much
but
love.
I mean, it's okay to like challenge. I think it's okay to challenge them if you're presented, if you're put in front of somebody and they have harmful ideas or bigoted views or things that you disagree with. It's okay to challenge them in that time. And I agreed to have this conversation with him a long time ago, so I wanted to stick to my agreement, but I don't think that we should seek out these conversations with people if we can avoid it.
Sorry, I lost my mic. No, I agree.
I agree. You're absolutely right. I mean, we only have so much time in our lives, and I don't have much time at all to give to bigoted ideas. I just don't.
Well,
I also don't want to be an audience for them and show other people that you can be an audience for those ideas too. So.
I'll close it and say I think it's important to both see the right appropriate information and and also have knowledge of those that are striving to push against it, no matter what their personal reasons are. And I personally think his personal reasons is bullshit. But anyway, I mean, let alone least to not even mention hurtful, but by all means, anyways. But yeah, that was one of the things you did. What else have you done?
Super productive.
Super productive. What else have you done in the last couple weeks?
Not much. We didn't do the show last week, and it was primarily because I just needed a break. So right now I'm still working full time, working mostly from home, but doing some work on campus and going back and forth there a little bit. But I'm also training for a marathon, training for a Tough Mudder. I have a 15K run here in a couple months that I got to train for. So, and then I got some other projects going on. Nothing super interesting, but yeah, it's just a lot to deal with when you work and have kids and other stuff going on. But yeah.
I mean, that's fair.
Kids definitely keep you busy.
Yeah. His definitely do.
They definitely do.
Defiantly do.
But no, that's good. See, he knows.
Great.
He knows you. Hello, Mike Carey. Good to see you. And Theo. No, you're right. Well, good. I suspect and hope you have more coming soon, but I'll leave it at that. Hint, hint. But
Well,
I
if you want me to bring it up, I can.
I just
So
saw,
I
saw you, bro.
so after doing this show for over 2 years now,
Word.
and spending a lot of time as a moderator and administrator and many groups and watching many debates and doing this and that, even within groups of people that agree with each other, we have a trouble communicating, and we don't really have the tools or care to learn the tools to effectively communicate. And something that has been kind of on my mind lately, is um, how do we more effectively communicate with each other, and how do we more effectively communicate across the aisle, so to speak? And this has been a problem that I've seen, or that I've experienced, I should say, going back, several years ago, getting involved in science advocacy and talking to anti-vaxxers primarily. And there's a lot of science and data and methods and tools available to us to more effectively communicate with people. But we don't utilize any of them. We don't seek them out. We don't bother with any of that, right? So I mean, we effectively chuck out all of the science behind effective communication when we're doing our advocacy and education and stuff, right? The way that we talk to people on Twitter and YouTube debates and in Discord and Facebook would never, when we're trying to educate people, would never be acceptable in a classroom, and we know that. We would never allow a teacher to just hand somebody a book of data and facts or a link to a website and then expect the children to go learn it on their own, right? That's just not how it works. There's a lot of different communication styles and learning styles, and it takes a lot of patience and a lot of understanding of where that person is and where they're coming from, and what would and would not work based on that, and how to get somebody to trust you enough or connect with you enough to actually take on board the information that you're giving them. And so I started a new YouTube channel that I'll be having my first show next week, but I want to focus mostly on communicating or getting people's experience and different environments, and talking about barriers and roadblocks to communicating and getting through to each other, and just different ideas and suggestions and recommendations, and where things break down and how to improve them, and maybe even going over some of the science behind effective communication, and effectively applying skepticism in a way that isn't just, here's the data, here's the facts, it's your fault if you don't believe them, or don't take them on board and adopt them as your own. Like I said, we would never accept that in classrooms, but there's some point where we lose the nuance in our own responsibility in the education process.
Well, I commend you for making that effort and time and work that it takes to establish all that. So that's good. You don't see, or at least maybe we just haven't looked effectively, but you don't see a lot of that, or channels to effectively garner the audience and effectively have those conversations and commit and continue to that. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm proud of you.
There's some content creators and some educational channels and YouTube channels that do it really, really well, right? They're entertaining, they're comical, they present data in a fun way, and these are tools that are used to convey information in a way that people is more easily digestible. But we don't have that available when we're talking to people or just typing at them. So we have to find other ways to do it. So it's
right.
it'd be interesting, and it's much of a learning process as anything else. So it'd be good to see what people's experiences. And I've talked to several people that even within their own group that share mostly the same ideas, there's still a lot of barriers to convincing other people of like fairly benign things that may be 100% factually correct, but like just hard to convey that.
That's
Giggler,
fair.
how's it
Hi,
going?
Giggler.
There he is.
Yeah. How is everybody? Man, it's been a while. Been too long.
Yes. How are you been?
I'm good. I'm good. You guys know my dad passed away in end of May.
Yes.
So yeah, I've been working through that. It's been weird.
Mhm,
New normal
mhm,
kind of thing.
mhm. I remember you shared your eulogy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
remember that.
Where I give a little what's it called? Throw a bone to the theists by talking about heaven. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got some shit for that.
I mean, I won't dive too much into it, and we'll kind of move forward. But it's I get that. It's a real tricky line to do or
Yeah.
follow, where you
Yeah.
yourself are not a believer, but your wife and immediate family are, and so you effectively are the only one, and you
Yeah.
have to garner, you pretty much have to position yourself in their favor, in a way that consoles them. It's weird, but I think we ourselves sometimes will have the moments when we have someone, on their deathbed, and they ask for you to pray for them, and it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to just be a bitch and say no. Like,
Yep.
I'll let you say the words, and I'll be in
Yeah.
solidarity with you. Like, that's their comfort. So I think in that sense, you did that comfort.
I'm gonna make up for it though, because I've already decided I'm gonna pre-record my own eulogy.
Oh hell, here we go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And here's what's gonna happen when it comes time. It's gonna be very solemn. Someone's gonna walk up with, I don't know, the VHS tape and shove it in the machine at the front of the church, maybe. And it's just gonna be a
Why are
Rick
we still
roll.
on VHS?
Yeah,
Why are we
that's
still
what
on
I was
VHS?
wondering.
Wow.
This is how old you are. Oh yeah, I'm gonna
Right.
record this shit on VHS. What? Who has that still? Come on, man.
I think I would really enjoy recording my own eulogy. You guys wouldn't listen to me when I was alive, so I'm dead now, so you can sit there and fucking listen.
On VHS, yeah, I'll let you know when I get that technology. That's hey, do you? It's
Talks to
you're
myself.
out, hey. I want to go back to your mission and your channel, Justin. You have a guest lined up. You have a couple, or just one?
Oh, so far, so I'm talking to Randolph Richardson next Tuesday on the 8th. I have it in
Sweet.
my calendar, so
You scheduled?
it'll be scheduled. And I just asked him to have a conversation with me because I know that he talks to a lot of people, and he's been in a lot of groups, and he's been doing this for a long time. But he also, from what I've seen and what I've seen other people talk about, is he's particularly effective at communicating with people in a way that is not like really off-putting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's and I don't think that there's like any intention behind it other than what the goal of the conversation is. So the when I talked to him about it briefly, the goal of the conversation for him is not to deconvert people and not to necessarily convince people, but it's just to have a productive conversation where you kind of learn about each other's positions, and then you can kind of navigate them, and dig into them a little bit more and kind of explore why you hold them and what are the justifications for them, but doing so in a way that's more inquisitive than inquisitive in nature rather than trying to be convincing in nature that they're either right or wrong. That's kind of what SE tries to do. But SE, if done properly, it's probably good. But if done improperly, it feels dishonest because it can feel like you're trying to drive towards a certain position or
Right.
away from a certain position. But just having that natural ability to like legitimately try to connect with people that disagree with you, I think it's something that we can learn from.
I think I remember, or I recall, I kind of had a conversation, or I actually asked you a question because I was just ultimately confused as far as the legitimate differences between a Christian apologist going through their script versus a person practicing SE, in a sense, going through a line of questioning to hone in on what they're trying to get answers of. And I get how, like, you had explained it in a way that it garnered me a little bit more understanding, but sometimes I still kind of I don't know.
So it says SE dishonest. No, SE inherently is just a way to question beliefs or get an idea what their beliefs are and drive towards a conversation about why they believe them and exploring their justifications for them, right? So there's nothing to that is dishonest or anything, but when I've seen it practiced poorly, is what I said, and what I should add is that it feels like, and this is usually the atheist is driving towards convincing them that their belief, that their religious beliefs are incorrect or wrong, rather than just trying to actually learn why they believe them. Right. I think there's a different feel to the conversation of I'm trying to convince you of something, or rather than I'm trying to understand something that you believe.
You have some pushback here.
Oh,
One
that's
from
fine.
Carrie. Can you give an example of SE used incorrectly? And Anna states it simply questions methodology.
Right. Yeah. So if they're
SE makes baby
attempting
atheists.
to convince it's not SE, yeah, I mean, you can know true SE, whatever you want. I don't really care. I'm just saying that's like what they're attempting to do SE and failing at it, right?
You can use SC to make somebody steer to the conclusion that you want them to steer to, and instead of them driving to their own conclusion on their own, right? And I think that's maybe what you're talking about, is using SC to make people think the way you want them to think instead of just thinking on their own.
Yeah, and I don't have like any particular expertise or a lot of experience with SE. I just bring that up because I do see it occasionally by what I would call like lay people that are trying to be like counter apologetics. And there's like a real feel to the conversation that there's a goal in mind that's not just understanding or trying to get them to explore their justifications for their beliefs.
It seems to me like if the goal is you understanding why they believe what they believe, that's a great conversation. If you have the additional goal of trying to get them to not believe what they believe, that's where it gets to be that dishonest thing. Now, if your goal really is to understand what they believe and why, and in that journey, they start to wonder what they believe and why, okay, well, great,
And this pretty much, I'm sorry, Malty, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I guess I was just going to dovetail on to what the Giggler was saying, is that when I have engaged in practice SE or on the SE server, one thing that I do try to do is, I'm pedantic in nature, so it seems like it's difficult for me to operate within the the spirit of charity, because I'm really trying to be careful in the words I choose, and I'm hoping that people are doing the same thing and being careful in the words they choose. But sometimes they're trying to make metaphor and things which don't seem to line up. And so if I'm giving pushback, it's because what I'm saying, what they're trying to say doesn't seem to really be going anywhere. We're not drilling down to the base beliefs that's supporting whatever claim they're making, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, like I said, I have very limited experience with it. But I think it's difficult to approach it, you know, in that of a really unbiased manner of you know, you mentioned the spirit of charitability. It's like you kind of have to approach it as if there's no assumptions on whether the justifications are good or bad. And, you know, we tend to come from this place that if we disagree with you on something, I'm already assuming that your justifications for the belief that I disagree with are bad. So that can lead to some pitfalls in the conversation if you don't kind of recognize that and actively avoid it.
Okay. I mean, I have no extra opinion or comment on it because I know very little, and I recognize my ignorance. That's why I always still fall on that question in the back of my head. But the more and more I hear people that do have that experience and do understand it and practice it enough to demonstrate it effectively, then it makes sense. And I kind of have married that to how I have conversations or how I do interviews, where I don't have a list or line of questioning. I just kind of effectively listen to what they're telling me and try to ask my next question in a way that mirrored what they last said, just to try to drive a better understanding for myself, to be quite honest. But I guess that's more or less the same thing.
Yeah, it you know, it doesn't have to have a label or, you know, whatever, or a specific methodology. But if you approach conversations with the intention of just, you know, exchanging ideas and understanding what they believe, and without, you know, any agenda attached to it, you know, you open the door for further conversations, and once you have a rapport and you build a connection with that person, then over time there's a lot better chance of actually influencing each other's you know, better influencing their more foundational beliefs, I guess, that are not generally going to be changed in one or two conversations.
Okay.
I actually I joined a flat Earth server today with the goal of training myself to be a better listener.
No, with the goal of you just like torturing yourself.
Yeah.
How are those two related?
What's that?
Maybe he's trying to practice SE there, Mikey.
Maybe.
I don't know.
No,
If they allow him.
I figure with the religion thing, I'm going to be kind of emotionally invested in the conversation. With the flat Earth thing, I know it's nonsense, and I can sit and listen to that, and I could learn to listen to people and not shout over them because I disagree. Ideally,
But I feel you're still doing yourself a disservice. Yes, you knowingly for yourself know it's bullshit. But if you
yeah, I do. Okay, I do.
Yeah, you do.
I was being charitable.
I know.
Ooh.
Cute, very cute.
Yeah.
But I think even with that, I think you still do yourself a disservice because you can get yourself really diving into that conversation in the most wrong way, where you just have this mindset of, I know you're fucking wrong, but all right, let's go. I'll still be charitable. I think you still allow yourself to be a bit more, I want to say open-minded, but even though, I don't know, it's kind of difficult for me to say that. Even now, it's difficult for me to say that because, you know, I want to try and be as open-minded and be like, you know, I could be wrong too. Because we often say, like, you have to be willing to admit that you could be wrong when we talk to theists, right? So
How do I know that what I think is true is true? Yeah. And ultimately, the answer is I don't. And so it's worthwhile listening to other people and hearing their perspectives. My goal there, honestly, is to not speak at all. We'll see if I can do it. It seems unlikely, but I'm going to try.
I've traveled around half the planet on a submarine. I know the Earth is not flat. There's no amount of Discord debate that's going to change my position on that.
Okay, here's the funny thing. The company I work for, without doxing myself, a big part of what we do is map projections.
Yeah.
Like, if the Earth were flat, there'd be one map projection. It's fucking flat, done. So, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Yeah.
I think that's what we should do. Just force flat earthers to go into the Navy.
Yeah.
And they find out for themselves.
Or be a pilot or whatever.
Unfortunately, they're going to be kicked right out because they'll probably be anti-vax as well.
That's true.
Shit.
Yeah. And so that brings up a good point that we don't recognize offhand when we start conversations, is that a lot of these ideas are connected, and a lot of them, even though they don't use it, they don't bring it to the forefront. A lot of it goes back to Christian creationism and young Earth creationists. So a lot of the flat earthers and anti-vaxxers and people who hold a whole other collection of beliefs, we spend all of our time talking about flat Earth, and then they start talking trees and angels and demons, and you're like, hold on, this is a whole different ball game that we're in here. But that's why it's important to explore those a little, as much as you can before you start like really getting combative or argumentative, because you don't know what's propping up that belief system. It could be something that's way more foundational, that if this other thing is true, then this is necessarily true. And if you don't change the foundational belief, then you can't even approach the one that you're arguing about.
I think that's a fair point. Gentlemen?
I need wine now.
Yeah, you do. Everybody needs wine. What's wrong with you? In a fancy glass.
And a big pillow.
And several big pillows, not just one.
So, Jenna, you've been busy. What have you been up to? You have something coming up too, right?
I have been busy. As far as things, things are often coming up. But I have been busy. Just because Oz is in the chat, we have a show together on the Tang Network, the Atheist Network group, called Chopping It Up with Jena and Oz. We're thinking it's gonna run every Tuesday or every other Tuesday. Haven't really solidly discussed it, but the last 2 weeks, so far we've done 3 episodes, but the last 2 have been pretty much him interviewing me. It was a very emotional deep dive about getting to know me. Like I've often shared and know my story. Most of you guys know me, but a lot of stuff I haven't gone into complete detail and revealed about myself, or my past self or whatever, was touching to say the very least. And then this past Tuesday I interviewed him, not necessarily on his deconversion or anything like that. It was mainly just addressing, pretty much the mission of what he does and the respect that, his community holds towards him and things like that, and the channel overall. So I think essentially we're with that show, and I'll talk about the other things in more detail, but essentially with our show, it's more of discussions that we both like having, in a sense where we're talking about religious trauma, mental health from it, and various other things that fall into that same category. And so, we like to open it up to those that have those shared experiences and platform that, really getting into the nook and crannies of why people leave or struggle to leave, or driving that importance of similar topics like that. So that's been something that I've often liked doing and like discussing. Apart from that, I'm also rotating co-host for the Promethean Secular Network. Promethean Secular Frontier. We've had Josh and Sunny Shell and Phil. Well, Phil was supposed to be there, but he couldn't last minute. But we've had them as guests about a month over back, sometime late last year, also known as PSF. So every Saturday afternoons, they have a sub show called Women Atheists Unload. And so I'm a co-host, Cindy Plaza, Sunny Shell, and Laura McGee. Yeah. So that show runs every Saturday. I think I'm going to be on it this Saturday and next. That obviously platforming more women non-believers because, most of this community, most of channels that we see, that we watch and join and participate in is male dominated.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see that. I don't see that here at all.
Mm-hmm. How many men are in this room right now? Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know. I don't know. I can't count that high.
Count the dicks. Count the penises.
Whoa.
Hey now.
That was a little vulgar.
Something.
So just I think I mean obviously I'm all in on that, and I think it's important to showcase that and find more women atheists that are willing to show their face and speak about issues relating to women, and also not just always issues but fun stuff. I know this week I'm co-hosting with Cindy Plaza, and the discussion is to break down the meanings of 2S LGBTQIA+. So yeah, I'm not gonna.
We'll tune into that one.
Yeah, you will tune into that, Min.
I've been working really hard to contain myself, and so I tried not to say that I'm all in with that is not something you could say right after you say count the penises. Oh wait, I did say it, didn't I? Okay.
You did.
I'm not succeeding in containing myself. Never mind.
Okay.
Giggler, you have this thing where you're like, I probably shouldn't say this, but let's just see how far this privilege gets me.
I can't tell you how many people think that I chose the name the Giggler because I like to make people laugh, and yeah, that's not why I chose it. But
no, you didn't have a choice in that, did you? Don't dock yourself.
Mikey Famine, hey.
Hey, Mikey. He's been there. It's funny. But yes, doing work with PSF. I'm still multi because I don't want you to chew me out here. I'm still with the nonprofits. Young sir, I am. Obviously, youngster multi with a nice sweater. I'm still there. I've just been on hiatus because I do other shit too. Plus, I'm back in school.
Yeah,
so,
you're back in school.
Back in school. So tune into that. Me being back in school. No, I'm kidding.
Are you gonna start vlogging your school life?
Ooh, should I?
Yeah.
That is so boring. Anyway, yeah. So
it's watch you do homework for hours.
Hey, it's time to watch Jena do her homework. Well, she just knocks out. So yes, I'm still part of the nonprofits. I've been on hiatus from production and being a host. I'm venturing to get myself back in late March. I'm ironing things out more to where I've pretty much been consistent on sticking with the schedule I have. So that's yay. What's answer number 5? I don't know. Fuck it. That's the answer. But yes, still wanting to get back into that. Maybe just taking a more producer side of things. Maybe we'll see. But I'm still a part of that.
Yeah, I know what you mean because I'm been working on the video engineering kind of shadowing and learning that side of it. So just keep on doing, growing, putting your efforts into where they can be useful. And yeah, I think that's a good fit for you. You do well on that side, cracking the whip, or kind of.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Not. Oh, yeah. What the hell? No. Well, I mean, you made it cool. I'll admit it. You happy? You made it cool. There you go. No, I like it. I enjoy that aspect of it, and so we'll see. Once I get myself back in that mode, I'll talk to Boss Man, and then I feel like I know I'm probably leaving something out. That's why I drive myself crazy, but no, I'm not. The main reasons why I've kind of dipped away from some things, added other things, because my drive is that I want to do more of what I want to do. I want to have more conversations of what I want to have. And, I'm gracious and happy and excited to still do this channel, because it allows Justin and I have created that freedom to talk about the shit that we want to talk about. With the parenting show, that was Justin's brainchild. I think that's still very useful, that we should continue with. With the hip hop show, of also again Justin's brainchild, is fun, and I think it should still be continued as well. I've been hesitant as far as, and this is me, it's not anyone's own fault. I've been hesitant to try and push what I've been wanting to do for like over a year now. And intermittently I have the conversations on other platforms, and in a sense I'm still doing that, because I don't feel like running my own channel is just gonna drive me nuts, because I still want to manage my commitments to everything else that are important to me, because even though they are commitments, I'm passionate about and important to me. But I'm in the works of wholeheartedly doing, content of my own. How that looks like, where it's going to be, to be determined right now. So I won't announce too much on that. But that's pretty much Jena. That's Jena's life. Yeah. So it's been fun. It's still been fun. Cool. Good times.
Good
Thank
talk.
you. Gosh, love the great supports. Giggler, what are you drinking?
Coffee.
Oh, that's boring. I thought you were drinking alcohol.
That's
All right, I'm happy Kelly got it at least.
Yeah, I saw it.
So I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just want to bring it up, and maybe we can talk about it more later. But at work today, we had a group discussion about let me look up the title so I don't screw this up. But it was about environmental racism and Native Americans, and there was an article and a video that we watched before the discussion to have something to talk about related to it. And it was about primarily resource allocation and access to infrastructure and facilities and clean water and resources and stuff on reservations. And it was primarily about how when the reservations were created, quite some time ago now, we displaced Native Americans from their homelands, which which were fertile grounds and ideal for farming and agriculture and living, and then we put them in these less desirable land that it was harder to manage and harder to farm and utilize with less natural resources. And we've been almost 200 years or so of that, of going back and forth on how to appropriately account for that. And so far it's been we pour some money into it every year, but it's never enough to appropriately build a stable infrastructure that they can live on, without constant outside support. And the part of the discussion was that there's like 40% or something of people that live on reservations don't have local access to like clean drinking water. A lot of the wells are contaminated. A lot of the natural resources were removed by other big U.S. corporations and companies, and by the federal government. One of the primary sources of well contamination in one of the reservations was uranium that we mined for the war. So, we paid these companies to go mine all this uranium. The byproducts contaminated the wells, and the federal government never stepped in to clean it up or improve the conditions of the resources like water. So it's I work in sustainability on the energy engineering side of it, but it's nice that people are having these conversations, because before this and I try to stay aware of like social and cultural impacts and stuff, but this is something that we don't really think about until it's presented to us by by people, or we have these conversations. So it's good that these organizations are starting to introduce these topics and ideas as they build up what's called DEI groups inside their organizations. And DEI is diversity. I forget the acronym. Something and inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right. So it's basically a whole team inside companies now that are focused on those particular things, and creating plans and training and gathering information and stuff on how to operate in a more responsible manner in regards to them. So it's just cool to see that happening more and more.
I will ask, was this conversation that you had at work today just impromptu, or was it part of a seminar you're attending or a conference? Because I know you said your work and like a off discussion that we had that you joined or were going to participate in like some conference that talked a lot about diversity and inclusion and things like that.
No, this was I didn't really know what to expect of the format, but it was basically hosted by a supervisor in our department, and the department head was like, everybody was there's different topics, so there's different discussions, but the managers, department heads, even to the interns are all taking part of these discussions. So so it does really feel like it's everybody's involved and kind of buying into expanding our knowledge on these subjects, and actually putting some effort into thinking and applying better ways of doing things like this.
I can appreciate that, and that's very unique and good on your employer for facilitating that. So is this something frequent that would happen biannually, annually, or just at random?
I don't know. This one feels random. Like it feels like somebody came out and said, "Hey, we have this. Let's do some DEI stuff." Like almost like there's like a check in the box, right? We didn't do any talks like this year. So that's what it kind of feels like, and I hope that it's a little more often. I know that they can't spend too much time on it during working hours, but ideally, we can get more of these conversations going. But I think it's really helpful, because when you're in a big company, or you're in this multi-billion-dollar organization, everything's about efficiency in terms of your processes and stuff. But it's really easy to let slip your environmental impact and your responsibility to your community, and manage how that affects people as it spreads further out. And the further away from your local organization, the less you think about it and less concerned you are about whatever it's impacting, but it could have wide-reaching effects that you don't really think about.
I certainly am, ignorant of that. Like you said, if it's not really fundamentally in your backyard, you don't really give much thought to it. So I think it's very useful and good that an organization would strive to make that important, or at least, have one day set aside or a couple hours or whatever to actually have that discussion. Because who knows, people can drive more awareness or think that's important to them if they had more knowledge and thought on it. So that's important.
Yeah, and during that conversation, it led kind of to a tangent, which is another conversation that should be had, is how do we actually improve these communities? And this kind of went into cities and urban communities too that have some of the same problems in regards to infrastructure and education and healthcare and stuff. And I think historically it's been, let's implement a federal program and have federal resources hiring federal contractors and federal employees implement it, and then kind of walk away from it, or have this top-down approach of, we have the money and the resources, we're going to give you the best way to do it, and we're going to implement it, and then if it fails, it's your fault. And there's a shift in building bridges within the community and implementing more of an advisory role rather than an executive role, and working with local community organizers and local community teams on implementing their ideas the best way that they know how from the inside, and providing support and resources and training and infrastructure and stuff like that to help them implement ideas and things that they've already had, rather than just trying to tell people that we know how to fix everything and your way is wrong. Because I think there's this idea of, if you haven't fixed it by now, it's because you don't know how, rather than it's some bigger systemic problem that you just don't have the resources to address. Yeah.
And I think as we get that knowledge out there to a larger group of people, we may come across the person who's going to be able to solve some of these problems too. So it's always good to get that information out there to a wider audience. But yeah, I was aware of some of the problems. I know a lot of the problems with the uranium mining that happened through the 40s and the 50s, and a lot of the first peoples that were working in these mines were not told about the dangers of the uranium. They weren't given proper safety equipment. And yeah, it caused a lot of problems.
Yeah, it's just like coal mining and these other inherently dangerous industries that we built up. These big corporations profit off them, basically have like runaway profits until we come together and say, hey, this is dangerous. We're just not going to allow this industry anymore. And then those companies all shut down. The money stays wherever it went, and nobody comes back in to fix the problem and help heal the people that were injured during the process and the communities. A lot of people have cancer and COPD and other problems now, and there's not like a fund that was put aside to help them. The money just disappeared, and there's no support.
Nor did they clean up the mining sites. They created all these contaminated places, and they just left them the way they were.
And you wonder why those living on the reservations are hesitant to have pipelines being plumbed straight across their lands now.
Yeah, and this is like, it's probably worse on reservations, but this is like for any rural community when there's, the big government comes in and tries to implement something, and then it's like, you have to integrate, or we're not going to help you, or we're only going to help you if you do it the way we tell you to. Or you have companies that build railroads or mines or whatever around a natural resource, and when that resource is gone, the companies are gone, the executives and CEOs are all gone, and the community just crumbles underneath it. But there's, I don't know if there's anything you can do about it, but there's just there's no expectation of awareness and responsibility involved in cleaning up after yourself or preventing and mitigating these problems to begin with. And it doesn't help that in the US, the federal government keeps trying to break apart things like the EPA and rely on local and state level enforcement, which doesn't have the resources or the reach to actually enforce the rules on these major companies.
Or sometimes even the desire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the time they can recognize the problem, try to enforce the rules, and then the endless litigation of state versus major corporation, it's already too late by the time any of that's solved.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're talking about like oil companies, I mean, these companies have the economy of countries behind them. I mean, the corporations themselves have, more money than many whole countries. So it's hard to imagine, like Minnesota versus ExxonMobil or something ridiculous. Like,
Right.
it just, yeah. But I think the conversations are getting better, and we're just getting better at talking about it. At least it's something.
Yeah, that's the overall point of everything. I think ultimately, the more conversations and better conversations we have because of them, can I say this out of timidness, but can drive more support and success to improve things. I'm a little timid because that often takes a very, very long fucking time.
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple approaches, right? There's the people protesting outside of City Hall with their signs, and then there's conversations happening in the local coffee shop. They're not going to have the same impact, or they're not driving down the same road. But if they have the same goal, then they'll both make some impact in their own individual way.
Thank you for sharing that. Like, if you happen to have more workplace fun time. I'm just kidding. I don't know how to label it. So it's a DEI group. If you happen to have more of those topics, I think it would be pretty fruitful to discuss them.
Yeah, I think that's the umbrella term for yes, for that type of conversation to be had in organizations and groups that are implementing policies to address issues that come up under that umbrella.
Yeah, it actually, I jogged my memory because I was like going through my work email, and the last few years I've noticed a push from my organization striving to put into better practices of inclusion and addressing inclusion and diversity in healthcare. And they've implemented changes in our electronic charting as far as really highlighting an individual's pronouns, really highlighting their preferred name, highlighting if they're binary, non-binary, those trigger things. So whenever you have that patient in front of you, or whenever you call them, you address them appropriately. I mean, that's the baseline. I mean, that should be baseline, period.
Starting off on the right foot.
Right, exactly.
At least give the conversation a chance for success.
Right. Because there's been a few occasions where I've had a patient want to withdraw themselves from a class that I helped get them enrolled into because of not being addressed appropriately, or not being addressed the way they felt they wanted to be.
Right. And it's whatever, it's technical, yada yada yada, and it costs money to make these changes and whatever, but there's like a turning point, right, where it's like you either do this or it's going to affect your bottom line, but that takes us, the rest of us, making enough noise about it and causing enough financial damage to because companies don't have a conscience in that let's do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. You typically have to say you're going to do the right thing for the sake of not losing money in business. So
Right.
it takes a lot of I guess activism or some conscious economic habits to make it less profitable and eventually economically unfeasible to operate in a way that goes against these what should be like the normal way of implementing these processes.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks for that. We're pretty much at the end of the show, but if Kelly, Multi, you guys want to take a moment for yourselves, reflect, breathe in, breathe out. No, I'm just kidding. Share a little bit about because you both actively do the work that y'all do. So by all means, I want to give you both the opportunity to kind of share what you've all been doing, what plans you have as far as what you do. Multi, you go first.
I think one thing that I'm planning on doing is definitely putting more time in the production side and the engineering side of the nonprofits. So I think that's a good place for me to land. I don't mind being a host. I enjoy it. I enjoy being a conductor as well. But I think there's other things that I'd like to try, some skills I'd like to build doing that. So that's my main focus as far as in the YouTube kind of arena.
Yeah. That's good. I think it's nice to do a little bit of different things. I think that's where I'm at too. But so I appreciate that. Yeah. Kelly?
Yeah, Justin actually before kind of Kelly, this is kind of pertains to you as well. And the conversation we had with Justin earlier. I don't know if we want to get too much into that, but
spill the tea.
It's fine.
Yeah, but we definitely. I think this is one thing that Kelly is really wanting to work on, and I've put effort into it too. Is building the community aspect of the ACD. In that we want to have more things that people can do that will help build community. Not just hammer on theists that want to come over and troll.
Yeah, and you guys, you two in particular, there's been other help and a lot of support from the ACA, but just going all the way back to when we first did the very first Q&As, and then we did the nonprofits live show Q&A Discord chat thing for a little while when the pandemic first started. We didn't really know how to work remotely. But just going all the way back to that, and now we have talent show and news chat and Q&As and Speak Your Truth and Meet the Cast and Crew, and we have all these events, and we're trying to make it more than here's a platform, a space, and make your own activities on there, but providing a little guidance and organization, and hopefully it just feels more welcoming when you see people talking about a thing or gathering around an event, rather than just hoping that you can just pop in and fit in somewhere. So it's definitely something that's been really good and really helpful and driving a lot of activity, and I think it does make it more welcoming, just kind of building that community and camaraderie and stuff among people that are there, and it kind of just gives people a place to like insert themselves into a conversation without feeling like they're butting in or not welcome, because this is a community event that we hope and expect people to join in on, and
Right.
not like some private conversation or group chat.
That's why I've been trying to come up with more features that keep people interested in being around and hanging out, and not just getting involved in some atheist debate that's probably pretty much not going to go anywhere. But with Speak Your Truth, we've been given a stage to somebody to come up and talk about issues that reflect back on the community, gay issues, trans issues, minority issues. And every once in a while, we actually do a fun one too. Like we had ghost stories about a month ago. So that's been a lot of fun. And then we just started doing news chat when we have a panel of people that will talk about so a few selected news stories from the week. And again, we invite people up with us to talk and ask questions and give their opinions or tell a related story. So we're really trying to build that community there. And I've been having a lot of fun. And I don't know what else to say, but producing these things. So I've been having, because really, I don't think that we need more old white cis men up on the stage talking, but I would love to see that stage being available for other people. So I've been having a lot of fun making that stage available and seeing that it's there for people to use. So
yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on being kind of like the standard whatever straight white voice and everything, right? And it's like yeah, there's enough of that. Like nobody wants to hear it, but I've had a lot of conversations with people about it, and I think that if we can utilize our platforms and our experience and our our expertise or technical resources and stuff to teach people, to help platform other people, to give other people room to talk and to learn and kind of take over events and processes and stuff like that. I think it's I don't think there's anything wrong with being involved in that way. If we do make a conscious effort that this isn't about us and shouldn't be about us. We've had enough about us.
exactly.
Let's do what we can to give back and to elevate and promote other people and other groups.
That I
Yes.
can appreciate. Yeah.
So I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to make
That's why I let Jena do all the work here.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with me being barely able to show up on time.
I can continue, Kelly.
No, I was just saying, excuse me, that I've been having a lot of fun doing it, and I've really enjoyed the ability to give that platform to people. And it seems like it's working. I've gotten a lot of really great feedback on it. So I'm hoping to do more things in the future. My next project I'd like to do at the ACD is philosophy for beginners. So I'm trying to make that happen right now. Maybe a half-hour show every once a week. With revolving hosts, so we don't have to put
anybody
too
is
much.
good at philosophy and is willing to volunteer, maybe we can use
Well,
your
you don't
help.
have to be that good. It's for beginners, so you don't even have to be that good, right? You just have to have a basic understanding and be willing to pass that understanding along. So
I think, therefore I think.
yeah,
There you go. That's perfect. A+.
Hitting it.
Class is done.
Hitting it. A++++. Lyndon, my king, naughty girl, you. I'm just kidding. I love you. All right. Well, thank you, Kelly Multi, for being here. The giggler who had a dip. Cool.
always a
Thank you for being
pleasure
here
and an
always.
honor.
Yeah, thank you much.
Oh, of course. I know for here, wherever direction that we go for IF, for We Are Secular Podcasts, we just try to do the damn thing.
Okay.
Okay. I like it. Just kidding. Thank you, chat, for being here. Discord.
Sure.
Justin,
Yeah, we
Discord?
can do that.
Okay,
can do that,
Discord.
yeah.
Let me remember the banner. I don't know where it is. There it is. Yeah, there we go. Mods, Titan, share the link, please. I'm lost and I'm too lazy. But yes. But you can also join our Discord if you haven't. We're popping there in the next few at tiny.cc/IFDC. Yeah, we'll just chill, talk about more of what we already talked about, or talk about what you want to talk about. It doesn't matter. Just come on by. Other than that, we will see you all next week. Yeah. Final words, Justin.
Bye.